resources are going to include, first, a bunch of different assessments that you can get either from books or you can get on the internet to help people figure out what their spiritual gifts are, or what their talents are, or even what kind of a job they might want to get, because we're doing different kinds of coaching here. And then we're going to take a look at coaching certifications and coaching training that you can get in addition to what we offer here. And then we're going to looking at the coaching forms that we've developed for you to make this fit together better. Next week we're going to be talking completely about the subject of building your own coaching practice and marketing if you're interested in that particular area. So today, what is the area of assessments? Well, we have different types of assessments. The one that's known mostly in the church are spiritual gift assessments. And we actually have 3 types of those. We have a comprehensive assessment, motivational gift assessment, and passion assessments. Later on, we're going to give you an assignment to look up some of these on the internet or get the book and take some yourself so you get some experience of taking these kind of assessments. Then we have basic interest inventories, and then we have personality or temperament inventories. So there's a lot of stuff out there, and I'm just going to give you some that I got off the internet or other places that you can get for free or you can get fairly cheap to use yourself to deal with these different areas. Now, why do we want these? Because if you're working with somebody and you say, well, what's your dream? And they say, no. Then what are you going to do? You have to have some way to work that out. And of course, you can do, as we already taught you, to ask a lot of questions and try and look around. But one of the fastest ways is just give them one of these assessments or inventories, and that'll at least give them an idea of where they're at or what God might have gifted them with. Because what do we believe? God didn't give them one mission on the earth and give them a totally different set of talents that don't fit that mission. He knew what He was doing when He created you in the first place. You created your client in the first place. And so we realize that if we can find at least the ballpark, the direction or the quadrant of where they're gifted, that might give us some ideas of what their dream is. And there are a lot of different kinds of tests and things like that that we'll be looking at. The first one, and this is probably the most famous one that's out there, it's Wagner's Modified Houtz Questionnaire. And it comes out of a book called Discover Your Spiritual Gifts by C. Peter Wagner. And it lists a lot of different gifts. I'm just going to, the ones that are different from some of the other inventories. Realize everybody's made their own, and so they're all a little bit different. Some of the gifts that he lists that maybe we don't see in other lists are the gift of exhortation, the gift of being a missionary, voluntary poverty, celibacy, and deliverance. Those are all some gifts that he puts on his list that maybe other Christians wouldn't necessarily list. See, where do people get these from? From different verses in the Bible, but then they've added a few more things in that maybe they see might be a gift. Now realize we have all the regular ones that are in here, like the gift of prophecy, being a pastor, teaching, wisdom, knowledge, discerning spirits, giving, helps, mercy, evangelism, hospitality, faith, leadership, administration, tongues, interpretation, intercession, service, apostle, and leading worship. I don't expect to get those all down, obviously. I'm just going to give you a flavor. And of course, his flavor is what? Coming more from the charismatic Pentecostal direction. See, where everybody comes from is going to determine what kind of gifts they emphasize, isn't it? Well, there's a whole nother one by Bruce Bugbee, and it comes from Discover Your Spiritual Gifts the Network Way, and it's about the same, but it's different. Because one of the interesting things we're going to suggest you do is take both of these and see if they come out the same. Wouldn't that be interesting? Because again, he comes from the more spiritual direction on things, but he has some other ones he tosses in, like craftsmanship, encouragement, and being an apostle. But then he expands it out even further. Instead of just using one assessment in his book, he also gives you, that's the experience assessment, he gives you a traits assessment, a convictions assessment, a ministry assessment, and a passion assessment. So you have all these different ways of looking at it, and hopefully when we find out, they all come out the same. You know, at the end, we hope that, but at least we'll find if you have any problems with that particular thing. And so that's a whole system put together of just doing these kinds of assessments. Another one, and this is on the internet, and it comes from the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America. Now, what are we going to expect with them? They're probably not going to get as much into the power gifts of the spiritual gifts of 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and 14, right? They're going to be more into other things. And they tend to downplay the spiritual gifts, and they add in artistry, vocal music, music instrumental, skilled craft, and writing. And you can take this assessment for free. I'll give you the website, okay? www.elca, for Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, .org/evangelism/assessments/spiritual gifts. That'd be a good one. Just go on the internet and go take that, because, and then compare it to the other ones. Now, Focus on the Family has one. Now, these are not all free. Focus on the Families cost $85. And it's a whole website, and it's called www.thecallonline.com. That's www.thecallonline.com. Now, this is aimed more for kids coming right out of high school and so on, that want to find out maybe what God called them to do, what their call in their life is. And I said it does cost $85, so, but if you have a client that really is that interested, they might be willing to do that. And it deals with experience plus basic interests. The next category, these all come out of Romans 12, 4-8. This is what we might call motivational gift assessments or passions. The first one is at www.gifttest.org. Again, www.gifttest.org. And this helps the person determine whether they're a perceiver, that would fall under the prophetic, interpretive, and perceiving, a server, which would be caring and helping like a deacon, a teacher, a giver, a ruler, or a mercy gift. So it breaks into those particular ones. And that one, again, is free. You can take that, just go on the internet and take that. So my recommendation, your homework is going to be to go and take all these tests that you can take, especially the free ones, and just see what they say about you, so you know what the tests are like. So you can then use them with your clients. The next one, www.minitools, minitools.com. 35 questions: prophecy, service, teaching, exhortation, giving, leadership, or mercy. Said all of these come from Romans in the same verses, so they have pretty much the same list. And then again, out of Bruce Bugbee's What Do You Do Best in the Body of Christ, is a passions assessment. And he talks about celebration, outreach, connecting, equipping, caring, and supporting. Now, do you see that? That's all spiritual gifts. I gave you quite a few different ones. You can find out what you think is the best and what would work best with your clients, works best with yourself by taking yourself. Our next category are basic interest assessments or placement tests. How many of you have ever taken a placement test before, like in school or something? Okay, well, most people have in high school or someplace. They give you a placement test and it gives you an idea and says you ought to be a carpenter. Or, it gives you a particular thing like that. We have two particular ones that are very important in this area. Where would you be using these? Primarily, if you have somebody that doesn't have a job or they're doing a career change, and they want to find out maybe where they would fit. But this is all dealing with careers. Okay? The first one is www.livecareer.com. And the first part is free. Many times on the internet, they give you enough to get you going, and then they charge you at the end. This will help you assess, and these are their categories: persuasive, science, teaching or social science, administrative, systematic, assertive, writing, health service, industrial, art, clerical, outdoors, personal service, food service, sales and doers, thinkers, artistic, social, persuaders, organizers, and servers. So do you see the flavor? It's a secular flavor of basically what do you do best. And they'll help you understand your quadrant, but then they charge $12 if you want to figure out exactly what jobs would fit you the most. Okay? But the good news is we have a totally free one that's put out by the government. And this one actually is linked to 900 different occupations. And it uses, the basis of this is what's called Holland. He's the guy who invented it. RIASEC is the method. And there are a lot of Holland tests out there, all based on this set. And they stand for realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. And this is actually what people use that help people get jobs. Like you go to the Job Corps thing, or you go to somebody downtown because you're looking for a job and they're trying to job placement. This is the website that the job placement people actually use. So that gives you an idea. If you need that, that's where you can go and do it. Go find out if you're in the right job, right? Because you can go there and do the test yourself. Now the next type that we have there is personality style or temperament tests. How many of you ever heard of Jung? J-U-N-G. Very famous psychologist, and he came up with the first part of this, the first three categories here. And then a gal by the name of Myers-Briggs came up with the other one. So this is now called the Myers-Briggs test today. And you can take this free on the internet. Go to www.humanmetrics.com. Now in Myers-Briggs, what do we have? We have introversion versus extroversion, sensing versus intuition, thinking versus feeling, and then Isabel Myers-Briggs added judging and perceiving. So it breaks it out and it comes up with all these different categories as to what you fit in based on those areas. And from that they have these very elaborate descriptions of what people like that do. And if you'll go to another one called the Keirsey, K-E-I-R-S-E-Y, Temperament Sorter 2, it's at www.Keirsey, K-E-I-R-S-E-Y.com. They'll break them all out for you and give you all these descriptions, including lists of many historical people that had that same category and that same temperament, and the kind of jobs that that fits. So it gives you whole pages of information on each one of these. And by the way, if you take the test at Human Metrics and then you take the Keirsey test, you're probably going to come out different. Isn't that interesting? So you may want to take both of them. I really believe the Human Metrics is probably the better of the tests, because they actually have two different tests. Keirsey came up with his own test using those same things. But again, you can look at it and decide for yourself. And it breaks you into these categories. A rational category, and they call those the architects, the field marshals, the inventor, and the mastermind. The artistic, the composers, the crafters, the performers, and the promoters. The guardian, the prosecutor, the inspector, the provider, and the supervisor. And the idealist, the healer, the counselor, the champion, and the teacher. So do you see all those? Now there's a very quick way to do this that I really don't care too much for, but I'll give it to you anyway. I suggest you do the other test. It's called Do What You Are by Paul Teeger and Barbara Barron-Teeger. It's a short version of the Myers-Briggs, but it basically just says, what do you like, type of thing. And it really doesn't go into it very deep, in very depth. Okay, that's the picture of the assessments that we have out there. And there are quite a few, right? So what are you going to have to do? Play around with them some, see what makes sense to you, so you know where and what to do when you're dealing with a particular client. Okay? Next one you want to look at, so these are resources that you have that are available, is coaching certifications. Now, why would you maybe want to have a coaching certification? Just because in the world of coaching, there are no licenses at this point. Okay? So therefore, there's no way to tell who's a competent coach and had some training and who is not. Okay? So therefore, all those different organizations have come up with their own certifications. So I want to explain those to you a little bit. We offer one here in Bible-based coaching certification. And what are our requirements? Most of you already know this, but the course that you're currently taking, you need to take. One we're going to be adding to this certification that we haven't in the past because we didn't have it, is going to be the Effective Counseling and Coaching Skills course. Okay, that'll be available on DVD. Then the Faith Therapy course that gives you that background. The Principles for Life course that gives you Bible principles and how to make models for coaching and counseling. And then the Revelation That Set You Free course, the one that deals with spiritual growth. And on top of that, to get the certification, you then have to take a practicum in coaching. If you do all of that, we'll give you a certificate saying you are a certified Bible-based coach. Okay? Now let's look at another level and realize what we believe here is that we're definitely the most Bible-based. Now let's go on to what's called the Christian Coaching Network. What do they require if you're going to get a certification with them? And by the way, you don't have to have a certification to coach. It's just a nice thing to have. We'll be talking about next time about marketing, and that probably the direction of the whole field is going to go in the direction of certifications more and more. But this is what it takes to give you a flavor, okay, of the Christian Coaching Network Certified Coach Designation, as they call it. And on their website, they only have about like 8 or 10 of these people that are certified by their organization at this time. But you have to have 125 classroom hours of International Coaching Federation certified training. You have to have been coached for 6 months by a professionally trained coach. You have to have 750 hours experience coaching others. You have to do a telephone role play demonstrating coaching skills, 5 references of those you've coached, a reference from your coach, and a reference from 3 Christians. So you see it's expanding. Just like in counseling, you know, originally when they first got licensure in this state, it was like 250 hours. Now some licenses are like 2,500 hours of counseling experience you have to get your full license. And so things tend to go that direction. What would that say to you? Be better to get your certifications now, because these things tend to expand, right? They tend to ask more and more as you go along. But now let's look at the International Coaching Federation. And they have just added a bunch of things to their list. And they have 3 levels of certification. And probably, because this is the biggest coaching organization in the world, their certification probably is going to be the gold standard in this area. Okay, the first level they call Associate Certified Coach. You have to be a graduate through an IFC accredited coaching program, or 60 documented hours of training, 100 hours of experience. 75 of those hours have to be paid hours. In other words, you were paid by somebody to coach them. You have to have at least 8 clients 2 reference letters, an exam, and pay them between $100 and $300, depending on whether you're a member of the IFC or not. Okay, that's basic entry level certification. Okay, next level certification, professional certified coach. This is what you have to be a professional certified coach. A graduate from an IFC program, 750 hours of actual coaching people, 675 paid, 25 clients, 2 references, an exam, $300 to $500, depending whether you're a member or not. And finally, we have a master certified coach. And as a master certified coach, you have to have already had your professional certified coach. You already have all the training, all that kind of stuff I just listed, plus 200 documented hours of training, 2,500 hours of actually coaching people, 35 clients, and pay them between $300 and $525. You getting the idea? So they're getting more and more certifications, and a lot of people might not care that much, but other people are going to say, well, what certifications you have, and if they know something about it, they might think that you're a better coach because of how much experience you have. So that's that particular field and what is going on in that area. Let's talk about coach training now, from a Christian point of view, because you can get IFC approved coach training from a Christian perspective. The first thing, the idea is it's probably going to cost you between, these are probably old figures, the prices may have gone up by now. The cheapest program is $995, and it goes up to about $4,000. And these are IFC accredited programs. I'll give you a number of them you can look up if you're interested in doing this. The first one is www.transformationalcoaching.com. That's where Tony Solstice actually works and developed one book that you have here in this class. Okay? 1 year, 180-hour professional program. It has 3 courses: relationship communication skills, life focus, dreaming and planning, and implementation supervised coaching. And it's more aimed at a leadership executive type coaching direction. The next one is the Institute of Life Coach Training. They have a Christian track, IFC accredited, 40 hours of classroom and telecourses. A lot of this coach training, by the way, is done by, you just get on the telephone and you know, with another group of people on the telephone, and it's done that way. www.lifecoachtraining.com. Then we have the Christian Coach Training Institute. And they have 2 programs. One's called the Essence of Coaching. It's a 30-hour via teleconference, which deals with skills. And the Ministry of Coaching, 10 hours for staff and leaders of churches and that kind of thing. This is www.christiancoachtraining.com. The one before this was Life Coach Training. You see, a lot of them are going to be very close. Then we have the Career Coach Academy. 15-week career coach Christian track in groups of 6 or less, plus 10 coaching sessions. That's www.careercoachacademy.com. Another one, the Christian Coaching Institute. www.christiancoachinstitute.com, a 1-year program, 126 hours of training, available online. And finally, the Biblical Coaching Academy, www.biblicalcoachingfoundation.com, a 15-week program over the telephone. So do you see how much different things there are out there? And of course, as fields like this grow, some companies sort of take over more, do you see what I'm saying, and others recede and so on, but that's what's available out there right now. Now finally what I want to do today is I want to look at the forms that we gave you. We made up these forms, they're your resource, and I want to talk about it. You may have already even used some of them in your practice, but I want you to understand what's on them, and I'm going to do them in the order that you would probably use them in your coaching. Okay? When the client comes in, you're going to want to have some information about them. What some coaches do is actually, if the client calls over the phone, they'll actually mail out the coaching background information form and have them bring it in already filled out. Because that way it saves you time, right? If not, what are you going to have to do? You discuss generally with them, give them the form, have them take it home and fill it out for you. Now, what is on the form and what does it give you? Well, the first thing is it gives you the basic information you need on the top there. The client name, the coach name, the date, the address, city, zip, age, church denomination, occupation. Why do you want church denomination? To get a big flavor of where they're coming from spiritually. Their employer, their work phone, name of spouse, home phone, cell phone, email address, names and ages of children, area of desired coaching. That's just your general intake information like you would do in counseling, right? Okay? We just put it all together in one form for you. Then the next one is an area trying to determine if they really should be coached or if this person really needs to be counseled. Because how many people do you think might come to a coach rather than a counselor hoping that they're really going to be a counselor? Because especially men in our society don't want to admit they have problems, right? So they don't want to go to, but you can go to a coach, that doesn't mean you have a problem, right? If you go to a counselor, that means you're in desperate straits, right? Isn't that the way our society sort of seems to do? Okay, so we're asking, and these are all really counseling questions. If they check any of these, you want to look into them further to see what you're really dealing with here. See, it says, have you had problems with, or are you now having, or have previously been in counseling for any of the following? Marital relationship divorce, anger, domestic violence, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, drug, alcohol abuse, addiction, pornography, sexual addiction, rape, incest, homosexuality, child abuse, codependency, depression. Have you ever been diagnosed with a mental illness or had a mental breakdown? Other. If they say any of those, what do you know? This person, you look into it, ask more questions, they may really need a counselor. If you're not a counselor, you may have to say, well, I can coach you, but I need you to go to a counselor to deal with that area in your life also. Or maybe we better have you just go to a counselor right now, and after you get done with the counselor, then I'll talk to you. And then we'll deal with it. Because otherwise, you're going to have all this stuff coming up that's going to complicate, and all this smoke in the room you're going to have to go through to try and figure out to do your dreaming. You see what I'm saying? Because they may not be qualified to be dreaming for anything right now. They may be dreaming for becoming healthy. And that needs to be done first, right? Are you currently taking antidepressants or other psychoactive medications? Which ones? What is that a hint of? We probably have some anxiety problems or depression problems or other stuff. If they're on meds, hopefully they're on meds for some reason. We would hope, right? Okay? Rate the following areas of your life on a scale of 1 to 10. Doing poorly is 1, 10 is doing well. And this is adapted from your Christian coaching textbook, okay, by Gary Collins. It's an idea that just gives you something fast to get an idea of where they're strong and where they're weak, right? Then briefly describe your life stories on your second page, including any significant experiences growing up. You want to get an idea where they're coming from, right? And this is going to save you a lot of time. Maybe in your session you might share a bit about your life. You can ask questions about this. Then spiritual assessment. Are they saved? How long? Are they baptized? What's their Bible knowledge? Do they have spiritual disciplines? Attend church? What church? How involved? Bible study? Involvement in other religions, occult, or New Age? Why are we asking that question? Are we going to face spiritual problems? Have they opened themselves up to the demonic? What are we dealing with here? The type and extent. The ability to clearly discern the voice of God and receive direction from Him. Why do you want to know that? How can they find their calling if they can't hear from God? So you may have to say, well, the first thing we're going to do is get your spiritual walk to the point that you can hear from God. Otherwise, we're just going to be playing with the flesh, right? We're not going to be dealing with the spiritual at all. What do you believe God has specifically called you to do in life? They might have this all lined out. Or they might put, I haven't got a clue. Gives you a hint. Maybe then you can use your spiritual assessments. What do you have a deep passion to do or accomplish in your life? See, if they can just give you this stuff, then you don't have to do the work to dig it out. What specific areas do you seem to be talented in? If they list, that's going to give you an idea. Here's your quadrant. They've already found out their talents. What things seem to keep you from fulfilling what God has called you to do? And scared out of my boots. Well, they give you a lot of ideas. That's what this does. It gives you a starting point. What things have you accomplished so far in your life that might be helpful in achieving your calling? If they're already a public speaker and they want to be a pastor, that can be very useful, right? What opportunities are currently available that you might take advantage of to help you achieve your calling? What would you like your coach to do to assist you in achieving your calling or goals? You see how it sort of just lays this stuff out and gives you the basis to start. So that's the first thing you're going to use. But then in that first session, what else are you going to do? Get a coaching agreement. As I said, this is adopted from the International Coaching Federation just because you want to be as legally sound as you can. And it's going to be their language here, okay? The first thing we have, of course, their name, area you desire coaching, initial term, how long it's going to be. Most coaching is about 3 to 6 months is how long it lasts. But it could be a lifetime. The fee. How much per month and how much for the project. This is like informed consent in counseling. The session day, the session time. It might be over the telephone, wherever. The number of sessions per month, the duration. And were they referred by anybody else? Then you talk about the ground rules. The client calls or meets the coach at the scheduled time. The client pays coaching fees in advance. Client pays for long-distance telephone charges, if any. Now this is all from the International Coaching Federation, modified a little bit. As a client, I understand and agree that I am fully responsible for my physical, mental, and emotional well-being during my coaching experience, including my choices and decisions. I am aware that I can choose to discontinue coaching at any time. I understand that coaching is a professional client relationship I have with my coach that is designed to facilitate the creation and development of a personal, professional, business, or ministry goals, and to develop and carry out a strategy plan for achieving those goals. You just explained what it all is all written here, so they can't say you didn't tell them, right? I understand that coaching is a comprehensive process that may involve all areas of my life, including Bible-based spirituality, which was added, work, finances, health, relationship, education, recreation. I acknowledge that deciding how to handle these issues, incorporating coaching into those areas, implement my choices exclusively my responsibility. I understand that coaching does not involve the diagnosis or treatment of mental disorders as defined by the American Psychiatric Association. That's DSM-4 they're referring to. I understand that coaching is not a substitute for counseling, psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, mental health care, or substance abuse, and I will not use it in the place of any form of diagnosis, treatment, or therapy. I promise that if I am currently in therapy or otherwise under the care of a mental health professional, then I will consult the mental health care provider regarding the advisability of working with a coach, and that this person is aware of my decision to proceed on with the coaching relationship. I understand that information will be held as confidential unless I state otherwise in writing except as required by law. What's required by law? Just like anything else. Homicide, suicide, child abuse, but coaches are not covered by privileged communication. That means anything they say in coaching can be used in court. I understand that certain topics may be anonymously and hypothetically shared with other coaching professionals for training and consulting purposes. I understand that coaching is not to be used as a substitute for professional advice by legal, medical, financial, business, pastors, or other professionals. I will seek independent professional guidance for legal, medical, financial, business, and spiritual and other matters. I understand that all decisions in these areas are exclusively mine, and I will acknowledge that my decisions and my actions regarding them are my sole responsibility. So why did they say all that? In other words, I'm not responsible for you. I'm not here to fix you. And after you sign that, have I made that fairly clear to you? That's the legal stuff to protect yourself. You know, another issue you might want to consider. A lot of coaches don't have liability insurance, but could you be sued? Probably. Anyone can be sued for anything, right? So you might want to consider liability insurance, that kind of thing. And the next thing is a Word of Life Institute mission plan form. We already had you use that as part of your exercise when we talked about planning. Remember that? I'll just go over it rapidly. The first thing is your mission statement. Remember, that is your one or two liner that's very concise, down to earth, exactly what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Then we try to help you to make sure your mission statement is right. We say, what's your beginning point and what is your end point? And if that doesn't fit your mission statement isn't good enough. Then we have you get your specific long-term goals. And those should all be, again, part of your mission statement. These next, see, the B, C, and D here are making sure you've got your mission statement right. Because if your mission statement isn't right, are we going to have a problem? You bet. If you don't have a good target to shoot at that you can see, you can wander all over the place. Then we have alternate methods for achieving the long-term goals or the mission statement, evaluation of each, and star the best option. In other words, I can get here by going to seminary, by being discipled, by spending 3 years in the desert like the Apostle Paul. Okay? Now, which one is the best one? And so you put those down. And then the plan. Define the steps necessary to achieve the goal by this alternative in order. I've got to do this, I've got to apply. First I got to get the money, then I got to apply, then I got to get accepted, then I have to go there, then I have to study like everything. Then those are the steps to get there. And then finally, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-specific, short-term goals. What am I going to do first? And what's it look like, and when am I going to have that done? So if you did this whole thing in planning, what do you end up with? Your plan, how you're going to get there, and the first thing the person's supposed to do. You see that? Now the last thing we need to deal with today is coaching ethics. And every one of these organizations has their own coaching ethics. And we believe ours needs to be a whole lot more Bible-based than any of the other coaching ethics that are out there. But the idea is, as a coach, if you want to coach for us, you're going to have to sign up for these coaching ethics. Okay? And agree. And that's how it is in all organizations. The warning is, whatever organization you belong to, if you accept their ethics, it can be used against you. Because they're going to say, what are the standards for this profession? Well, what you signed up to. Those are your standards. So let's look at these. I will exemplify Jesus Christ in all of my life and in my conduct as a coach, seeking only the best interest of my clients and to further the kingdom of God. I will maintain specific confidentiality with my coaching relationship, except as required by law, and for coaching supervision unless released by my client. I will clearly explain that coaching assists emotionally healthy individuals to more fully achieve their calling or ministry, where counseling primarily assists people in overcoming besetting sins, dysfunctional behavior, and relationship problems. I will be careful not to allow my coaching to be used as a substitute for counseling, legal, mental, physical health treatment. If I am not qualified, I will refer issues to a lawyer, mental health practitioner, pastor, or doctor when appropriate. Why do we say that? We don't want you getting out of your area. That's called malpractice. I will do my best to help my client achieve success in his or her life from a biblical perspective. However, I will never attempt to override my client's rights to make their own choices and learn from their own consequences, or to direct their own lives unless they become a danger to themselves and others. I will give literary credit for all material that I have adapted or referenced for my use. I will avoid dual relationships with my clients that might result in a conflict of interest or might interfere with the coaching relationship. Notice what we did not say. I will avoid all dual relationships. In counseling, that's a requirement. Here, many coaching things, you actually are pretty much like a friend to the person. Do you see what I'm saying? It's still a coaching relationship, though. If such a conflict of interest exists, I will openly discuss it with my client and offer to refer him or her to another coach if desired. I will recognize pastoral leadership within the church environment and always conduct my coaching in submission to that leadership. This is especially true if you're coaching in a church. I will develop, agree upon, in writing, and honor the provision of a clear coaching agreement with my clients. If I charge fees, these fees will be clearly explained in that agreement. I will accurately identify my qualifications, training, and experience as a coach. I will not knowingly exploit my coaching relationship for personal, professional, or social purposes. I will live my life in obedience to Jesus Christ, admit my mistakes, repent if I am wrong, be open and honest concerning my own present and past struggles, and live as a Christian example to those that I coach. Now, if you did that, do you think you could be a pretty good coach? And that's why we're laying those things down, so that you at least know what is expected as a biblically based coach. So these are the resources that we provided for you. I said next week we're going to be talking about how to actually market and actually establish a business or a ministry in the area of coaching. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you that you provided all these resources. And Lord, that we have the resource of the Holy Spirit to guide and direct us in all that we do. And that you would help us and lead us in helping people through biblically based coaching. And help them to find their goals and help them become all that you want them to be. And we'll give you all the glory in Jesus' name.